Hello, and welcome back to Bookshelf of Opinions with your host. I'm Elizabeth,
And I'm Hannah.
and today we're talking about Great BBL.
I feel like you planned that somewhere.
I just saw someone on Instagram call it Great BBL, and I was like, I didn't even realize that was the acronym, and I was like, this is amazing.
Oh, it is.
Just kidding.
I was
Welcome
not
back.
prepared for that.
Welcome back to Bookshelf of Opinions. I'm Elizabeth,
And I'm Hannah.
and Hannah, what have you been listening to?
I have been listening
This
to...
is episode 25, by the way. What have you been listening to?
Is it? Oh,
yes,
that's
I know.
so exciting.
I'm keeping track.
Oh, it's a whole quarter. I don't know why that was... guys, we're eating tiramisu, so sorry, we're a little on edge.
We had 2 bites.
Happy Cinco de
I
Mayo.
feel like we had no energy until the microphones turned on.
Yeah, it's our on-air personalities. Just
But we're
kicking
not
in.
fake, don't worry.
No, this is unfortunately us. Not
Sorry, what
unfortunately.
have you been listening to?
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
listening to.
Okay,
I feel bad for the headphone users.
I feel bad for anyone. Apparently our audio is not the best.
You know what?
Sucks to suck. We're
It's
just
hard.
girls.
It's hard being working ladies.
Amen. Working ladies who are also working, because the podcast is double work.
Exactly.
You know? Anyways,
Exactly.
I have been listening to the Folklore album by Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I don't know what that says. And
I don't
then show tunes, which is normal musical theater in Hannah Montana.
Okay, nice.
Musical theaters, Mamma Mia.
Nice. Never go wrong.
So good. Newsies.
Mhm.
Hamilton, obviously. And then, yeah, Hannah Montana, she really slid her way. And Ben Rector. I don't know. I feel like that's become my, early summer, springtime.
I feel like that's everything described you. Like, all of that makes up
Yeah,
parts of
it's
you.
just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's all just a very calm vibe until I'm, screaming Hamilton. Anyways. Well, that, and then when I get to folklore and I scream Mad Woman. I'm so sorry.
I mean,
I love Mad Woman, guys. What have you been listening to?
I'm so glad you asked. Okay, I'm listening to Satellite by Harry Styles.
Oh.
I love that. And Cinema by Harry Styles. I feel like we don't give it enough credit. I just really miss Harry Styles right now. And Harry's House was so good. But I've also been listening to Margaret by Lana Del Rey and featuring the Bleachers. And I didn't realize how big of a fan of Lana Del Rey I was. And also I've been listening to Young and Beautiful by Lana Del Rey, which is in The Great Gatsby. And I love The Great Gatsby. Anyways, so that's what I've been listening to. I've been listening to a playlist based off of Great BBL, obviously. And that makes sense.
Maybe that's where I got my folklores, because I started listening to Last Great American Dynasty.
That's what I thought you were going with.
No.
Because all of the songs I just listed were on a playlist. So I was like, yeah.
Oh, I haven't listened to a playlist for it. I turned folklore into it.
What have you been reading?
Well, I'm currently still reading Back to Funny Story, which is my intermittent. I don't know.
Yes.
I've been in a reading slump. I realized the other night I've read 10 books this year, which is not bad.
That's okay.
That's technically 2 books a month at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little below average for me, but that's okay.
It's okay.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
But the one that we're excited about is Great Big Beautiful Life.
Oh, gosh.
Great BBL.
Woohoo!
Woo! Great Big Beautiful Life. Elizabeth, what have you been reading?
Okay, so last episode, I don't know what I was reading.
What was I reading last episode?
I think I was reading A River Runs South, which I did finish. Because then this came out. Great BBL. I feel like I can't call it anything else. I'm so sorry.
I hope you realize the same Fearless mashup that we did will be this, but with Great Big Beautiful Life and Great BBL.
I hope I don't ever say anything and mistake and accidentally say Fowerless. That haunts me.
Well, you just immediately said Great BBL to open the episode.
Well, that's funny. That's funny. Okay. Right now, I'm currently reading The Unmaking of June Farrow. Have I started it? No, because it is. And she also wrote Spells for Forgetting, which I love. So I'm excited about this one. She's kind of like a witch type thing, but she lives in North Carolina. It's kind of giving me Lucy Gray Covey vibes from what I could understand. Yes, you're raising your hand.
No, continue. It's just remember to say something before we get into this.
We're gonna do Great BBL. Okay, anyways, but I haven't been able to start it because I'm still my heart and soul is in the Great BBL. Hannah, now it's your turn.
Do you remember? It would have been
You're kind of scaring me.
Thursday, April 3rd. I sent you a text about a book that you should read. Do you remember the name of that book? This is a side tangent. Just you saying that made me think of this book
Yes,
that the
I
lady at
know.
Barnes and Noble was reading,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is a book Elizabeth would read.
Yeah.
But now you saying it again makes me want to look it up to read it. Anyways, I didn't know if off the top of your
Because
head
you're
you're
at the
like, oh, it's
bookstore.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I'll look it up.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I can
Yeah.
also look it up because I can look in our text too, but
Don't
between the
stress
two of
yourself.
us, we'll get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
because you said I was gonna like it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a whole side
I
tangent.
wonder if I put it in my Amazon.
I'm so sorry.
Let me
I
check my
just
Amazon.
was like, I need to know what this is. Not that I need to, but I'd like to because I think I want to read it. But I don't remember what it was. Let me scroll through. Let's see if
The
I see.
Bane Witch, was that it?
What's the brief description of
Let
it?
me go see.
In case you're wondering, we send read in our texts a lot between you, me, and Belle. Oh, I'm almost to the third.
This girl has an affinity for poison things, plants, and men.
That sounds right, actually.
From the pokeweed berry she consumed at age 5 that led to the accidental death of a stranger to the husband whose dark activities has become concerning. Poison has been at the heart of her story.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But she fakes her own death in an attempt to escape a volatile marriage and goes to stay with her estranged great aunt in the mountains. She realizes predelication is more than hunger; it's a birthright.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, cool. I'm probably will definitely want to read it because
Yeah.
she fakes her own death. Why
I
not?
mean, poison.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry. That's it.
This is, if you can't tell, going to be a complete episode on Great Big Beautiful Life. So if you have not read it and you do not want to know anything about it, do not listen to this episode.
And I would just like to say that it came out when we are recording this. It will, by the time this release, it will have been out for 2.5 weeks.
Yes.
Like, we respectfully gave you time.
Yes. And I allowed I didn't read as fast as I thought I was going to read it because I was finishing up school and I was like, there's no reason to feel rushed in reading anything. And I want to savor it. It is so important. Also, One Golden Summer comes out tomorrow. We get Charlie back.
I didn't pre-order that.
You didn't
I'm about
pre-order
to just
it?
order it right now.
Okay, I pre-order it, so it's coming tomorrow. So by the time this episode comes out, it should be already out. I'm so excited.
Ooh.
I'm really scared though. Because I have mixed feelings about Charlie based on how one summer,
You know what I'm about to
every
do?
summer
I'm
after.
about to go on Amazon and just order it real quick.
And you do that.
Yep. So pause momentarily before.
If y'all want some ASMR of me eating tiramisu, just kidding. I hate ASMR people eating, so you're not going to hear mine.
Did you can mute your mic too. You don't have to just awkwardly get all the way away from it. It'll get delivered.
I forgot people can see us. I apologize.
It'll get delivered on Wednesday, May 7th. I can do that.
Bingo.
I didn't realize you can get it paperback or hardback. I'm getting paperback.
I think I got mine paperback because all my others are paperback.
Yeah. I appreciate an author who releases the paperback and the hardback at the same time.
Exactly.
Cough, cough, Emily Henry.
We love you, Queen, but for the girls who have paperback of everything else besides Funny Story, actually no, I have paperback. I have 3 in paperback and 3. Oh my gosh, there's 6 Emily Henry books.
I know. I guess I have Funny Story paperback. I need to get Happy Place paperback. I just need to do it. I need to fully commit to this.
Dude, I don't even know where to start when we're talking about the Great BBL. I keep on saying "the" and there's no "the" in it.
All right. My One Golden Summer will be delivered on Wednesday now. Okay. Sorry.
Here, we can start like this. Did it live up to the hype you planned it to be as an Emily Henry book?
Yes.
Okay. I saw so much hate for it on the internet.
I've seen people, they're like, it's not an Emily Henry book.
And
it had me disappointed and confused. I'm like, that article lady I sent you was not a fan of it. I'm like,
I know. Well, I saw someone on TikTok being like, y'all are all treating it the same way y'all treat Happy Place, which all of a sudden I was like, wait, people didn't like Happy Place?
People didn't like Happy Place?
What are you talking about? And they were like, but just you wait, you're going to realize how good it is. And what I realized, granted we haven't talked about this plot at all, Happy Place and Great Big Beautiful Life, I feel like I can't call it.
Like the two dual point of views?
Yes, but also because they both oh yes, I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh, you're a genius.
The flashbacky thing. It's just different with Happy Place. But
their romance trope is not the main trope. Both of their tropes are more of the own main character's relationship with themselves. It's a more realistic thing, and it's the
Yes.
romance is not the whole point.
Like, funny story, the romance was the
But
driving plot.
you
But
still
you still
just
had character growth.
yes.
But, like, Great Big Beautiful Life, Happy Place,
Mhm.
their own personal, and there's a lot more family tension, I feel like.
Yeah.
All of her books, she has a lot of family
Which I
tension.
appreciate, not that,
But it's
it's like,
realistic.
okay, yeah, it's not like one big happy family.
But, like, Great Big Beautiful Life, Alice's relationship with her mom,
Mhm.
Hayden's relationship with
With
his
his family,
family,
yeah.
and then,
Margaret's relationship with
with
her
her family,
family.
like, it doesn't mirror Happy Place, but it gives a lot of just similar vibes, similar with her Alice's friend group
Yeah.
back home with the Scratch.
Yes, and, Alice feeling like her job isn't seen as worthy to her family, same as Happy Place, which I'm like, "Okay, wow." But,
Mhm.
okay, quick synopsis of Great BBL in case you didn't know. Like, 2 writers, Hayden Anderson, oh, we love you, and then Alice Scott. I was like, "What is your last name?" They are both writers that go they they one well, okay, they are both in a pitch to create a biography about Margaret Ives, which is the last living member of this famous, like, socialite please correct me if I'm wrong,
No, no.
socialite family, and just kind of just disappeared. People thought she was either dead, and so they both are interviewing her on different days, and whoever wins the pitch gets to write a story about her. So you have this POV of this is what Margaret is telling her story of her life, and it starts from like her great grandfather and like carries down, and then you also have the microtrope of like Alice and Hayden in their life.
Yeah.
Um, it's also set in Georgia, and I'm just saying,
I love
at first I was like, is this going to be an Emily Henry book? But it is.
That's what my thought was. I was like, "Is it gonna be Emily Henry? Because there's not the level of escapism." But
As
because we're
someone
not
from
coastal Georgia,
Georgia,
I love it.
like it made me cry when I read that we were in Georgia because I did not know that before. I just knew
Mhm.
we were on some island, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're in Georgia. Like you hardly ever read books. But granted, like book lovers, she like her base was in Atlanta,
But
but I
it's
still was like,
different.
you hardly, yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this can make me cry.
I loved it because it was like when it was the Atlanta Savannah debate, I'm like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
you're not just casually going from Atlanta to
No,
Savannah in a day, like."
yeah.
And the flight, so the whole Margaret telling her story, I feel like the important setup, and I like that she carried this
Mhm.
throughout, was literally the first sentence of the book is there's an old saying about stories and how there are always three versions of them, yours, mine, and the truth.
Mhm.
And because that's like how Margaret's stories are told. It's like
Mhm.
what's their version and what's her version.
Mhm.
And we're supposed to assume Alice is writing the truth
Yes.
through the two different versions.
Mhm.
But I like because she also kept that in her own personal
Yeah.
like point of view of there's two different versions of everything that happened with her and Hayden.
Mhm.
She's like, there's my version of what's happening, his version, and then
Yeah.
there's like the truth, which is we're obviously attracted to each
Okay.
other, but we're choosing to be
Yeah.
friends.
So we know Emily Henry is kind of like she likes to do Easter eggs of different characters within her book.
I didn't see any Easter
Okay,
eggs. I might be
I
stupid,
found one.
but
No, no, you're not stupid. I found one. Okay, chapter 5, page 46.
hold on. Elizabeth is actually prepared for this. Like she has her notes.
I did finish it like literally so recently.
Okay,
Dude, I
what
just flipped to the page where she says it's the first time you said my name for some reason it feels like a win. I was like, "Oh, okay." Okay, okay.
Oh, I have something highlighted on that page.
When Alice is talking to Cecil,
Cecil.
Cecil, and
Oh, the
he's
friend from college who is now a lawyer?
okay. That too. I was like, is that Sabrina or is that Parth? Because they're lawyers.
But
Okay,
we know where Alice went to school?
no, but she keeps on talking about this lawyer friend
Okay.
multiple times. Okay, but when Cecil says we had one once, travel journalist from Rest and Relaxation, but frankly, she wrote more about her travel companion than she did about
People
us.
we meet on vacation?
Poppy
And
literally works for Rest and Relaxation. She literally works, and who does she always travel with?
Alex?
Alex Nielsen, her best friend.
Stop,
Because
that's so
I was like,
cute.
where have I heard Rest and Relaxation?
Which is hilarious to me because I realized reading Funny Story,
Mhm.
Poppy and Alex are in
Yes,
that
because of their
too.
fake names.
Yes. And also, okay, this is the slight cynic in me. Did Emily Henry put that in there because people we meet on vacation's about to be out as like a movie
I
and she wants to
wondered
drive
that
a little bit of
too.
extra like it also adds to Poppy and Alex's story though
It
of like
does.
seeing them in all these different places
Yeah,
of like, okay.
I
But
know.
anyways,
But I was like, I immediately was like, wait. Who else is a journalist? I was like, wait, no. Gus and January,
no.
they're writers. I was like, Harriet's a Potter. Like I was trying to be like, I was like, wait a minute. And then I was like, wait, no. I know who this is, you know? And also, they kept on talking about this publisher, and I was like because I know there's, like, hints that Charlie and Nora published January and,
Mhm.
Gus's, uh, books and stuff,
Yeah.
and so I was like, maybe there some type of hint to that, but that was the only Easter egg
Oh,
I found, and I was like, "Oh," and she wrote more about her travel companion than about her actual travels. I was like, "That is so sweet."
I feel like this is gonna be like the funny story where I just read the parts that I've highlighted,
I know.
and you actually give thoughts and inputs, and I'm just
Well,
like,
I
"I
mean,
highlighted this!"
I'm gonna say this, I saw someone write this on Instagram, and they said, "Great Big Beautiful Life is for the emotional dreamers," and I was like, "Oh my god, I feel seen." Like, "Oh, what?"
It
What?
is.
Because yeah, there's something about it that I appreciate. Okay, me and you were talking about this. I feel like
Mhm.
we're all over the place, but it's fine. It like, most of the time when Emily Henry finishes books, the people end up together. Like,
Mhm.
no one has not ended up together. I
I
was
was
actually genuinely a little bit scared, though,
I was
because our
scared
3rd
because
act breakup came late.
our 3rd act breakup came with, like, 30 pages
Yes, I
left.
literally was, like, shaking.
I was reading it in, like, school or at work, so I had kids in
Mhm.
my class, and I was like, "I can't react," and they're like, "Is it a good book, Miss Davenport?" I'm like, mhm,
Yeah, 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 it's great, it's great.
it's great, it's fine." But I honestly because then I saw it was Emily Henry and Reese Witherspoon,
Mhm.
and Reese was like I don't know why I say Reese, like
I
I should
mean,
know her,
hey
but Reese Witherspoon was like, "Is it a romance?" And Emily Henry was like, "No." And then Reese was a mystery, and she's like, "Closer." And so I'm like, "You just said no to a romance." So I'm like, "There's not gonna be a
yeah.
romance, it's gonna be a little more mysterious." I'm like, not that there was much of a mystery,
Mm-mm.
but I could still see how, like, I could see how
Yeah.
you have to piece together the story
Yeah.
because I didn't know that was coming at the end. I
No.
had suspicions. I'll go ahead and just say I was scared the Jody plotline was gonna get buried too close to the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Okay, I
I was
agreed.
scared it was gonna touch there, and then she vanished randomly, and I was like, "Okay."
I was very confused on Jody, and I was kinda like, "Oh, I really hope it's not 7 hu" because in concept, in theory, I love the idea of 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. She writes such good, like, historical fiction type books like that, like Daisy Jones and that type of style, even Carrie Soto, you know? And I was
Mhm.
like, "I don't want Jody to be like that," but, like, I was like, "I just don't get that vibe, hopefully." But I
No.
never expected I was kept on wondering what the deal was with Hayden and why Margaret was like, "Do you not like him?" And I was like
But see, I never reading it outside of him saying that he didn't like her, I never got the vibe. And to
yeah.
me, I just played it off of we're only seeing Alice. So
Okay,
it's like
that's what I
the
thought
3
too.
versions of the
Yeah.
truth thing is Alice is like, "Margaret and I are besties," and she's just assuming because Hayden's not opening up that then
Yeah.
Margaret doesn't like her
Yeah.
or like him because he's not opening up, and
Yeah.
then there's the actual truth.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we can say, like, I did not expect Hayden to be Margaret's grandson,
No, I
because I
didn't
didn't think they were gonna have a kid,
no.
which, oh my gosh, Cosmo, like sorry.
Him being budget Elvis. I'm
I know,
sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
like,
I was like
hilarious. Um, oh, what was I gonna
but the
say?
whole Nicolette like,
Yeah.
the second that
And, you know, our
Alice
cover is a mosaic.
it
It's a
is.
mosaic, which I was kind of wondering, I was like, "Why is our cover like this?"
It makes
It's a
sense. I honestly
mosaic.
was just like, "It's a cute Emily Henry book cover." I what was I the second Margaret lied to Alice about the hotel and called it by the not the current name,
No,
the
but
first name,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I was like, "Something feels fishy."
Yeah. I everything Margaret said, I was like, "That's not the whole truth," but I
No.
loved
But
Margaret.
I could also tell with Margaret, I was like, she's got only got these people for a month.
Mhm.
Obviously, she's not gonna spill their story because yeah, they have NDAs, but, like, they can get around the NDA if they
Yeah.
really wanted to, not that Alice would. You don't know what Hayden's gonna do because he's out there being a little fishy,
Mhm.
but I was like, it makes sense that she's not telling the full story because 'cause you're not gonna
And it's
dive deep in
also it's just a
personal.
pitch so far.
Exactly, and they have, like, ye in theory, a year or 2 to work on this. Because did we ever oh, no, duh, I was about to be like, did we ever figure out, is, like, Margaret dying and that's why she wanted to do this? No, she wanted to do it because of Hayden.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but I saw okay, well what I was gonna say is that, like, because most of the time, like, Poppy and Alex, they end up together.
Mhm.
Um, Gus and, August and January are, like, Wait, is it Gustus or it's August? I guess. I always just say
I
Gus.
just say
Gus.
Gus.
Okay. I don't know why all of a sudden I was like a brain fart there. Gus in January, like in the English version, the American version, he publishes her book. In the UK version, he proposes. Wait, do you not
Wait,
know that?
what? No.
Yeah, at the end of her book that he not published, but like her the end of the copy because she has that surprise. Oh my gosh, Hannah, you need to read it. I don't have it, but I read it on like online. Okay, anyways, they end up together.
I'm gonna order the UK version.
Yeah, and the UK versions are the
It's
covers are
so
so like I want
pretty.
all of them. Okay, anyways, and then like obviously Win and Harriet and I miss them end up together in Montana. Like Miles and Daphne. It's like oh, it's a funny story. This is the first Emily Henry book where it was like they're like growing, like they have a family, like they have a baby, and I was like, and to me, I think that was like full circle just because like of Margaret wanting to have a kid and then not
Mhm.
wanting to have a kid, and then uh what am I thinking? Oh, of Alice's relationship with her mom and everything. And so it felt like kind of like grown and mature to me for them to like I felt like we're progressing to a new stage of Emily Henry. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Or not?
No, sorry.
Oh
I got
no.
distracted.
No, you're fine. So
I
at
think we're getting a more mature sounds wrong because she's always been
mature.
mature, but more rounded Emily Henry.
Yes. Where I feel like you get like, because obviously I'm like happy when they end up together, but it's like, oh, you see, like, oh, how they're like, because then she goes on to write the biography about her or her memoir about her life and
Yeah.
everything. I also like her mom, where she lives. I'm like, can I live there?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
please, why not? Um. Oh, and I saw so many people give it hate because it was like an instant love type thing.
But it also
It was.
wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't.
But also like that's sometimes that
That's
happens. That's
sometimes
realistic.
realistic.
Where you just like you just mesh and it just works.
It does.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, okay."
Well, because it's like they went from Hayden didn't like her. She was apprehensive of Hayden because she was like, "Oh, we're competitors. He's being cagey. All this stuff."
Which and they really were never like they were rivals, but Hayden was always
They
like,
were.
"You're gonna get it," and I was like, "What?"
I know. It's like he knew. I don't know.
He knew someone.
And then they like became friends slowly, and they built that friendship. And then they respected the fact that they're like, "No, we shouldn't cross this line because we're
Mhm,
competitive. We're we're rivals
mhm,
again." And I don't know. I feel like that's when you get to know someone though, is like
yeah,
when you're in that competition mindset or that no, we can't actually do anything. We need
yeah.
to be friends. And because we don't know what's going to happen
And
at the end of
they did
this.
get together fairly fast, but also, like, that is just how things happen, and it was like, "Okay, you're still" but I feel
And
like
it's
that's a
also they had a nice
reflection
timeline
it's a reflection of Margaret and Cosmo to me, of, like, when
of,
you know,
you
like,
know,
you just kinda go with it, and I was like because I feel like you don't need to have this long history and this long banter. Sometimes it is for people, but, like, it works, and I appreciate it, you know? I felt, like, seen in that, and I was like,
I
"I really
appreciate,
like that."
yeah.
Also, like, the way Alice describes her hug with Hayden, I was like, "Gosh, like, wow, okay, like, I did not
And
know you could write a hug to
also
be that intense."
Alice being tall.
And their knees bumping each other.
Alice being tall. I'm sorry. I just I feel like I needed
You
to
don't need to
emphasize that.
apologize. I don't know why we're
I
apologizing.
don't either. You know how like you feel seen with and Fearless now, or at the end of Reckless to Fearless, with Peyton's hair being cut short.
Yes.
When I read that Alice was tall, I'm not, because she's 5'10.
Mhm.
I'm not 5'10. I'm like an inch and a half, 2 inches shy. However, that's still above average. So the fact that Emily Henry wrote specifically for their whole thing to be basically that, I mean, that Hayden was tall, but but for
Well,
Alice to
Emily
also,
Henry is a tall woman.
I I
I
I
imagine so. She looks tall to me.
I appreciate you, Emily. How tall is Emily
Yeah, that's
Henry?
what I'm literally about to Google.
I appreciate you, Emily Henry, for writing that. Not that you're listening to this, but let's see. Oh, Emily Henry is only 11 years older than us, 12 years older than us.
What?
Yeah.
It says she's 5'9".
That's so magical. I mean, so my guess is she's also writing as real girl experience because, like,
She's so pretty. Like, in her smile, like, I just love
to
her.
be like, just I want to be her friend.
Well, I I wanna know her writing process because it was what
Yes,
like, it felt like an Emily Henry story, but it was, like, s different.
it felt like an Emily. I've described it to you like this, and I know
Mhm.
told it to like Kat like this is it is an Emily Henry story with Taylor Jenkins Reid's TGR
Yeah.
storytelling.
Mhm.
The back and forth and like the kind of memoir vibes. It's
Yeah.
just made me feel the historical aspect made me feel like it's something I've read
Mhm.
before.
And I'll be
It felt like
honest,
real history to me too, and not something that she just
yes,
completely made up.
because they talked about real life things, like, they were like, "Oh, James Dean," and, and I was like,
Yes, they related
"Alright,"
to
like, Elvis and everything. I was like, "Okay." What were your thoughts on, Margaret's sister, Laura? Also, okay, wait. Since Jody, sorry, I totally asked you a question, but now I need to know your
yeah.
thoughts. Since Jody lives with Margaret and Cecil lives on the island, Margaret knows that Cecil lives there, right?
Yes,
Okay,
because I feel like they kind of addressed it at the end
I feel
too.
like they did too, but I also was like, is she just
Hold
totally
on.
playing them?
No, because yes, because well, she made a comment about how when Alice brings him up to Margaret that she wasn't the first one to bring him up this week, and
Mhm.
then basically no, I don't see how she wouldn't know that Cecil was also
Exactly.
on the island. Yeah, because she even acknowledges Dr. Willoughby met me there on page 369. She says Cecil had become a close friend of ours since he testified. Like he knows,
Yeah.
she knows who Cecil is, and
Yeah.
so my guess is it's not escaped her or Jody. Because like, who do we think Jody is with when
Mhm.
she vanished for that little bit and Margaret didn't see her
Okay.
around?
That's what I thought too, but
What were you? What was the question
um
before that?
oh, your thoughts on Laura.
Oh, okay. So I didn't like, and the sum of it all, she was not my favorite character.
No.
I mean, but that's,
But
I feel like she was also kind of written that way.
I think we are supposed to be frustrated. I was really
I think we were
confused
supposed to
with
be not
her.
happy with her.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate the fact I know she's a character, and so it's like you can't it's all fiction like anyways,
Mhm.
but that you had Margaret who was so out there and she was
Mhm.
staying all out there to keep the limelight away from Laura, and she didn't seem to appreciate any of it.
Yeah.
That she chose to isolate herself. And then when everything with Cosmo happened and their grandpa, like I totally appreciate like she took the guilt on her. Like
Yeah.
I see it. I feel it. But then to be like, I want nothing to do with him, get him away to the point that Margaret's like, I've immediately like fallen in love with this man and like actually fallen in love with him. Not immediately,
I'm
but
glad there
to the
wasn't no,
point,
like, "Oh, Laura loved Cosmo, there's this triangle." Like, I'm glad we
yes.
don't have to deal with that.
Oh, yeah. And there was no like weird, like,
Mhm.
yeah. But the fact that then it was like Margaret was like, "Well, can I even be with him if Laura's not gonna be okay with this?" And it kind of felt like the Dr. David Atwood.
Mhm.
I don't know. That all felt sketch to me. I mean, obviously it was sketchy.
Yeah. I appreciate it because it was totally out
Yeah.
of left field,
Yes.
and it's
And then
a
all of
very
a sudden she's in
celebrity
this
thing to do.
cult.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why
What?
didn't you just I why did you think that was your only option to
Yeah.
just up and leave?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's also probably the older sister guilt in me that was probably similar to Margaret's the older sister.
Yeah.
So my guess is it's like a similar
Mhm.
feeling of like,
That was the whole sister thing where they were like, "What don't like, it's me and you." Like, I was like, "I relate to that with my sisters." Like, they're
mhm,
my best friends, I care about I appreciate seeing that, like, sibling dynamic in that way because it also kinda goes back to Book Lovers where Nora cares about her sister. I can't remember her sister's name. Libby, right? Yeah,
that
and
sounds right.
stuff. Okay, this is a quote, which to me, this quote, I'll say this, where Alice says, I prefer that version of the world," and Hayden says, "You do?" and he goes, "It's yours." And she goes, "Oh, I can have the world." He goes, "Yeah, you can have mine." And I was like,
I
that's like the in every universe, it's you for me, even if it's not me for you." You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? It's like in every universe.
Everything about how her optimistic outlook on life, I
Mhm.
was like, "I feel seen." And
Exactly,
how she's
yes.
like, "There's a silver lining," and, like,
Mhm.
what's the harm?" And
'Cause
I'm
I
like,
feel like sometimes I've grown up and it's like, just but, like, you can't always be positive about
"No," but
things.
I'm like, "But you can't." And I
You
think
can.
Hayden realized she realized it,
Yeah.
he realized it of, like, there's nothing wrong with seeing
Mhm.
the world from either point of view
Yeah.
as long as they're seeing it together.
Yeah. And then when they're like, "Love isn't something you can cup in your hands," and, I have to believe that it means it's something that can never be lost. Um Oh, what's the one where it's like the people you love and you build a new one? You build a new life.
Oh, I'm s I don't know, I have so many.
I know.
Oh, sorry, I just skimmed past the part where, the anger in the car before the storm.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Sorry, my
Him
brain is
going
just
through a hurricane to get to her.
he went through a hurricane for her. Where's that quote? I know it's at the end of the book. Oh, when you love someone, you do anything to give them what they need. You would make the world and build a new
Yes.
one.
Yes. And also, like, it just reminded me a whole lot of Great Gatsby in a way, I think with the big parties, and I love that movie, I think I've already said that, you know? So I don't know, everything about this, it felt like nothing was I felt extremely seen, and I related to so much, but I didn't feel, like, I cried, obviously, but I didn't feel, like, torn and absolutely, like, I don't know how to move on,
I
because in the same reading Funny Story and, like, Happy Place in particular, I was like, I feel like someone can just see straight through me, you know? But, like, I don't know how to describe like, it was the same amount
Mhm.
of, like, emotional impact to me, but it felt like, in a way, like, an advancement of moving forward, you know?
It felt healing.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it was I feel like seeing myself in book
Mhm.
lovers and funny story, specifically book lovers,
Mhm.
my relatability to it, as much as I want it to be positive, it's not a positive light. Like I
Yeah.
see the flaws that
Mhm.
Nora has, and those are the flaws that I'm like, oh, because those are the ones I see in myself.
Yeah.
And then same with like funny story
Mhm.
of I think that one just hits in a completely different way.
Yeah.
But then this, it's like, oh no, everything that I saw as a flaw, this character
Yeah.
has in a positive way.
Mhm.
Okay, so maybe those things aren't flaws about myself. I'm
Yeah.
just not seeing them ironically in the optimistic light
Yeah.
as I see everything else. But then
Yeah.
because it's me, I'm gonna see. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was
No,
that
that makes
healing,
sense.
wholesome.
Yeah, and, like, her relationship of, like, feeling like she doesn't belong I'm not saying I don't belong to my family. I adore my family, I love my family, but the sense of, like, feeling like she was different and she felt different from her family, like,
Like there was that disconnect.
yeah, and I mean, I have different all of my siblings have different interests than each other, but, like, there's, like, you feel that way, and it's like, I feel like my parents don't know how to handle me, which, I mean, I love my parents. I'm not saying any of this in a dig, but it's like, "Oh, you feel that way," and
But until you have that conversation with them
yeah,
to realize that
yeah,
it's essentially all in your
yeah, and
head
it's
and they
like
didn't realize what they were
mhm.
like
Yeah, and then the whole process of grief too, for every single character, I was like, "Wow,
oh, hold on.
this really" and I'm picking on the book, but, like, even after, like, over time of losing, like, grandparents, I still feel like time has passed, but, grief doesn't ever leave you, you know? And so, like, even in Margaret's grief of losing everyone she loves, um, and then the grief and guilt of her daughter. And then, like, Alice's grief over her dad, like, yeah, it made me be like, "Oh, I should have asked all these questions to my grandfather," and all this stuff. I don't know. I really appreciate the way it was handled, you know? I'm trying to stall for time here, and I'm trying not to move on to a different topic of this book. I'll just say this randomly and then we'll go back to grief. I really loved not loved, but Margaret's parents' relationship broke my heart because they were still best friends afterwards, like they had family dinners, hung out, and she was his whole world and he made the world too small for her to live in. That's like an indirect quote from the book. But I loved it. I mean, not the quote. I was just the storyline was sad, but it was good. And I'm kind of bad at stalling time.
I can go into a different direction of quotes. Sorry, my mic's muted. Like, but that's not the direction I want to go necessarily yet. I want to finish. I want to find this freaking grief quote. Not that it's that deep. I mean, it was that deep, obviously, because I'm just sitting here looking for it.
Do you know where it was?
No, I can't remember other than the fact I've highlighted it. Oh, there's so many different things that I want to. Oh,
Where is it?
okay, page 99. I found it. This really isn't that significant now that I look at it.
Okay.
But in my brain, when I read it, it was really profound. And so they're talking about like when her dad died and the grief of everything and the hurt of it, and of how
I
like
know.
Hayden is trying to validate like you can
Yeah.
feel cheated out on
Yeah.
this life and everything. And so then she's like, I know I can, but I'd rather think of it like this, like it only hurts this much because he was so great
Mm-hmm.
and so much reminds me of him that in a way it's like he's still here. And I don't know. I read that and it just a lot of things clicked for me because also, around the time I was reading this last Monday.
Yeah.
And it just all like I read that and that part didn't break me the most. I can't look at you when I say this now.
Oh, okay. I'll look away.
But it for sure broke me more than I thought it was going to. But there were
Sorry, now I can't help but make eye contact with you.
No, it's okay. I would want to make eye contact with me too.
Oh my.
I'm sorry, I have to make it conceited just a little bit.
Well, I read that part when it was like you're allowed to feel cheated in that way, and I was like, there's nothing because I used to feel like that's such a selfish thought to feel cheated to like think I was cheated in life because I didn't get to spend that time with my grandfather because like I have a lot of older cousins and now I'm just about to tell you my family history. I have a lot of older cousins, so like a lot of them like my grandfather got to see them grow up and everything, and I was younger because just because there's so many of us and everything. And so I feel cheated in the sense that he doesn't get to see me, never got to see me graduate anything, or he doesn't get to see me get married in any time, But it's like, doesn't make it any less, but it is the whole thing of like you said, like, but was so great
It was
that,
so great, and that's what makes
yeah,
it hard for me is
yeah,
similar to like
yeah,
I might be similar to how you feel of because I have older cousins
yeah,
who all have spouses and kids who
mm-hmm,
knew my grandparents. It's like they all got to share that greatness with everyone.
yeah,
And I know like you got to experience like I got to
yeah,
share their greatness with everyone,
yeah,
but I'm like, these aren't
yeah,
the people that I want to feel their legacy because it's like
yeah,
the core of me is how
yeah,
great they were.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, grief is such a fickle
Grief is
feeling.
so fun. Anyway,
But
sorry,
I
not
appreciate
to
again this book and Happy Story is one of the most realistic I think because it's not
happy place or funny
completely.
story because you said happy story.
Oh my gosh, I meant Happy Place. I'm saying that as a sense of like the romance isn't the main plot, and I'm not
Yes.
saying because the romance in both of those are amazing. I'm just saying they're not the main plot. Um, Happy Story. Goodness gracious, bro. But
Um, sorry.
no,
I
you're
was there
fine.
was something
I
that
honestly thought we were gonna see a bit more about Alice's sister though.
Yeah, I honestly was expecting her to have like died at some
Or like
point
some cameo.
for a little
At
bit.
first, when she's like, I heard sirens and I thought Audrey. I was like, oh, is her sister like a drug addict? Like I thought something like
Oh,
that.
I was
Like,
like her sisters for sure just like die traumatically at some point.
mhm.
Maybe I don't know. Um oh, I have another quote that we can digest.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Because while we're feeling the deepness, we'll keep
Oh,
with it. On page 219, they're talking
hold on. Let me get to page
no, get there.
219. It's hard to hold a mic. I feel like I need
It's
one.
hard to hold a mic and hold a book. Let me set this up.
219.
So they're driving to the fact that Alice took Hayden to meet her mom,
Oh my god,
just
I
as
know.
friends. just as friends, technically co-work rivals.
Right. I mean, they're the only ones that knew each other's island, of course, yeah, why would you
Yeah,
not take the handsome rider with you? I
yeah.
don't know.
That, like, yeah.
To your
So
mom, no, no, would not be me.
no, and so they're going and they've like set up this whole thing of like, and they're talking about like their variety of success and like people caring and the
Oh, I
fact
know
that
where
like
this is
Alice's mom
going.
cares a lot. And Alice is like, well, what's the point of like other people care? And she's like, when you win a Pulitzer, because like Hayden won a Pulitzer in this, or had
Mhm,
won a Pulitzer. And he's like, no, that's when other people start caring about your
mhm,
accomplishments, but they're not caring about like you behind it. And then he's like, it doesn't matter like if your favorite show got canceled and like the best albums that barely sold when they came out. It's what happens like as time continues and
mhm.
everything. And then it says just because something doesn't make money or win awards doesn't mean it doesn't have value or doesn't deserve to exist. The job is alchemy. You take a hunk of rock until you turn it into gold, and the gold isn't even really the point.
Yeah,
And that,
and then when it says, "But bringing something intangible into the world that can live on without you, something bigger than the person who made it, and even then, the goal is secondary to the process. The process is for us, it changes us in ways that can be measured." At least that's what I've always thought.
yeah, I read that and I was like, huh,
Yeah.
this also, I don't know. This, you can speak for yourself. I'll speak for me. Reading this at the stage of life of like figuring out
Mhm.
real life work, and not that I have to do everything to please my family. I won't just say my parents because it's not just them. I don't want them to feel like targeted. But I don't know. Reading this, I'm like, no, it is like about my journey to get to it, and I don't have to do something
Mhm.
so great and so profound,
Mhm.
as long as it is great and profound to me, which
Yeah.
sounds so conceited,
No, but it's not.
but it's
You're
like,
the one that has to do
what's
it.
the journey that's keeping me
And
with
see,
it?
and I relate to that in the sense of, like, not that my family's ever pressured me to do something to make them proud or whatever, but it's like my job, realistically, working at a school, is does not pay the most, it's not the most successful, but it matters to me, and I know at the end of the day, it matters to those students, and it matters to those parents,
Yeah.
and so just because it's not successful in the world doesn't mean, I mean, I'm not saying the world isn't growth, but it's the same thing, like, I enjoy doing it, and at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to live with doing that job for the rest of my life, so I want to do something that I care about, and then on the page right before it, which is going into what I'm going to say, where Hayden says, "I've written stuff I'm really proud of that hardly anyone reads. I've written stuff I'm proud of that no one liked. That doesn't mean it didn't deserve to be written." Um, I felt because I write a lot and like I've wrote multiple books. I just don't let anyone actually know that I finished any books or that I've finished any type of thing or that I'm still writing. But just because they might never get published and no one might never read them doesn't mean they still don't deserve to be written, you know?
Mhm,
And I'm like, you can do multiple things.
mhm,
And at the end of the day, if I want to write for the rest of my life, doesn't mean that's not valuable.
yeah,
But I did feel like seen in that aspect of like trying to figure out what I want to do, you know? And I appreciate going back to them having a baby. She could still have her job and love it and equally be a mother and be a
yeah,
present mother. And I felt like that was all like because I mean I've said this before. I think at the end of the day my goal in life is to be a mother, but I still love my job and I want to
mhm.
equally do both. I don't think it should be a pick and choose, you know, at
No,
all.
and I appreciate that it's written. I know we talk about it all the like, or it gets talked about, "Oh, you can do both," but if you don't see it represented in, like, not that it has to be every single form of media you consume, but if you don't see it regularly, like, presented,
Yeah, because I think in all the other ones, like, you know, January becomes a successful writer, Nora, successful publisher, like
and
everything. And
there's
I'm like,
nothing
where's your
wrong with
family?
that.
No, nothing wrong with it.
Um, there's one, I also love it, the fact that Hayden is, like, kinda terrified to be a dad, and then they have a
Yeah.
kid, and, like, his whole thing is basically like, "What if I mess it up?
Hmm.
Mess him up?"
Which the whole job thing, it doesn't have to make the greatest money. Goes back to Daphne being, and funny story, being a librarian and still loving it because that's what she loves to do, you know?
Mhm.
Anyway, it's just the connections, man.
It's just Emily Henry writes real people. I know we've talked about that, but
Hmm.
I feel like the older I get, which it's not like I'm so old and so wise, but just the more I spend also just reading.
Hmm.
I also just wonder in the grand scheme of life, if we go back and like look at authors' books that they were like, oh, I hate this and I think it's never going to have any
Hmm.
success, the likelihood of it being someone's favorite, like, most life-changing book because they
Mhm.
chose to write the story even if they're not proud of it and they
Yeah.
thought it wasn't gonna go anywhere, but they
Yeah.
still went through with it, and then now someone is doing whatever.
I mean, I think people don't realize the impact you have on any aspect. Like, I
Mm.
mean, of anything.
Um,
It's just like I was afraid to have high expectations for this book.
I'm never afraid to have high expectations for Emily Henry.
No, I'm not, but I was just afraid because I see some people that were like, "Oh, I don't think I like it, and everything. And you said you loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if I don't love it? You know? And I was like, what if I don't I don't relate to it or whatever? And like this whole fear was like, what if it's more yearbook? And I was like afraid, but it really I felt like me and you both related to in the same way, but also in two totally different ways.
Yeah. Um, Back to the kids thing.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry. No, it's
This is
fine.
a complete side. I was trying to find where this was, and I have not related to her male characters as heavily until Hayden.
Dude, I feel like I relate to Win and then
Like, I mean,
Miles.
I relate to
No,
all
I
of
know.
them, but, like, actually being like, "Oh, I've legit thought
Mhm.
that, even if I've never said it,"
Mhm.
is when she's asking about the kids thing, and he's, like, freaking out of, like, "I don't want kids." I'd like to preface, I do want kids,
Yeah.
but, like, I'm equally terrified to have
Oh
kids,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah. I mean, I terrified.
no, and his whole, like, reasoning is, "What if they just hate me? Not because of the state of the world, but because they just hate me."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh." And then he gets into the whole his fear of after writing that book,
Mhm.
for Lynn, right?
Yeah.
Who had dementia and everything, and so he's, like, telling his story, and that's, like, how Hayden is known and everything, and how
Mhm.
Alice knew Hayden before all this. Anyways, not that you need
Yeah.
some plot
Well, I
points,
mean,
but then he gets to the end, and this one, I was like, "Oh, that was a he just unlocked a new fear that I had kind of forgotten about and wasn't thinking about." And it's a good thing my family doesn't listen to this. When he said, "What if they have to care for me for years after I've stopped calling them by their nicknames or telling them I love them?"
yeah.
And he said that, and I was like, "Oh, because of the dementia thing." Like, he experienced that of, like, watching Lynn, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah,
And
I
then
I kind of I read that and then I started crying because my grandfather had Alzheimer's and I was like, yeah, I've known pretty much my entire life, was never called by my proper name 'cause he couldn't remember. And I was like, it's this terrifying feeling?
mhm,
And it is to forget you know that you love this person, but you can't remember why and you can't remember who they are is something I'm terrified of.
mhm,
What page did you read that from?
181,
181. Okay.
Elizabeth, and the readers. I highlighted the whole freaking thing of
No,
why he's
I
scared to have
highlighted it
children.
too. I highlighted this whole my highlights are all in blue.
My highlights are all in orange.
Um,
I couldn't find a blue that I liked for that of my blue highlighters, but I knew my, like, orangey red was close enough.
I
Um,
realize I'm just spilling my family. Oh my god, I'm not that's a
oh, I
secret, but I'm just legitimately
that's because I feel like you've coped a little bit better than I have. I just make vague guess. I That shows how we process things though. You know?
I don't know if I've coped better because
Nope,
I
not
mean just
coped better.
because
You've
time
had
has passed,
longer.
yeah, but it doesn't ever leave you.
No, cope is the wrong word. Well, no, I think I still stand with cope of because we both process things completely
No, we do,
differently.
but even though I mean I don't think it being gonna because I've had
But it's
longer
not in a competition.
no, not in the
No.
competition, but I don't think because I've had longer to have to deal with it, it's gotten any, because there's still things I mean, I'll
Maybe.
be completely honest. I wore my Martha Vineyard sweatshirt today, and there's lobster on it, and I was I put it on this morning, cried, so I was like, oh my gosh, my grandfather was from Maine, and he loves lobster, and so it doesn't I'm not saying this is, I know you're not saying this is competition, but we do cope with it differently. I just can't tend to keep my mouth shut
No,
about it.
I think that's the difference in our
Yeah,
coping is you are more comfortable talking about things, and I like to just pass
yeah,
them off.
because I feel I don't know how to keep them inside because I think it will eat me alive in
Mm.
that manner. But
Kind of fun to be eaten alive.
it's been 8 years, 7 years, and it's still hard because now, I mean, I was 15. Now I'm a freaking grown adult.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna cry because
No.
it's hard.
Um,
I'm gonna try not to cry.
can I do a complete subject change because I don't know how to
Please
process
do.
things, and we're like right at the end of the episode. Our Faden, our
Hmm.
favorite Hayden Anderson moments
Dude,
because I have highlighted quite and underlined quite a few.
the Caprice. I don't know the Caprice.
The Caprice.
If That's all I'm gonna say. The Caprice, the snakes.
the snakes. Sorry. Um,
The green tea, man. I
where is it?
hmm.
Oh, he got a lot of attention. Also, so did her bangs.
Yes,
Anytime
which
he mentioned complaining about her bangs, I was like,
and she was like,
I like.
and I clipped up the smaller pieces of my hair that fell out. I was like, short hair girl knows.
I feel so.
I was like, thank you for having a bob. Like I understand it. And her dressing like fun. I was like, ugh, thank you for actually like dressing in style and people judging you. Like I actually feel seen in that. Hayden moments.
I mean, you said a lot of them. The fact that he went and to her in the middle of
A
a
hurricane?
hurricane. I realize my mic is super far away.
And he had to put on her clothes because his clothes were soaking wet, and
It
because
was
he's
so
so
dry
tall,
out.
and his pants were like capris on him.
Oh, when he said, "Just because you've made a decision about how I feel doesn't make it true."
Yes, I
Sorry,
know.
he
I know.
growled that.
Yes, I know. I stand by it again. The hug. The hug. That's all I'm. The hug.
Um. Oh,
Him sitting in corner booths.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they were talking about how they were competition, and he's like, "You were always competition," and then later, and he's going on about like, what if they get attached and they're like
Mm-hmm.
resentment, and he was like, "And I don't know if I can handle being the one person on the planet Alex Scott doesn't like."
Yes, I was like, you are
No,
down bad.
you really are. The fact that he said, "I love you," and he's like, "But you can't say anything yet, like until the month is
Yes,
up." I'm like,
and
and she was out here
you're
like,
gonna get it. He was like, I can't be the one. Yeah,
and the
literally all that
way
you're
she was like, "But I want to," in her brain, she was like, "I want to say I love you." Like this dude has
saying.
literally rewired how I think.
Hmm.
Oh, and then he was talking about how like she lives in the interesting life and how he wish he could live in it too. And she was like, "I'll take you sometime." And he was like,
I
"I'd like that." And I'm like,
know.
look at you encouraging like the way just things would
Them
be
falling asleep on the stone bench at her mom's house, I was
so
like,
wholesome.
"Oh, buddy, you don't know."
The fact that they were just freaking out the whole time, they're like, "What's going to happen at the end of the month? Like,
Mhm,
I'm going to miss him so much. Like, am I actually going to be able to see him?"
mhm.
And he was like, "But I don't want you to regret me." But da 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 da.
Yeah.
Um,
Ugh.
Oh yeah, the description of the bench. From the outside, we probably look picturesque and peaceful. Inside, my heart feels like it's riding along the top of a very active geyser. That's the first time it occurs to me. I'm falling in love with him. Maybe it should scare me. It doesn't. I never want it to stop.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate too is that, like, its love was so prominent, like, they acknowledged it very fast, which I feel like gets.
But we still see the internal
Yes, and
processing.
people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't tell someone you love them that fast, and, like, you have to give it time, and you can't move this fast, and you have to wait a year and everything for that type of stuff." I appreciated that it was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
like, you could still freak out about it, but, if you feel this way, why not say it, you know? Why does it matter? And that's the same way it was with Margaret and Cosmo, which I
Yes.
appreciate.
And then like when he was at her house, her mom's house still, and like she was talking about his mom was talking about the soup and like I hope it's okay, and he
Mhm.
was like that's perfect for me, and then she was hearing like perfect for me, like I'm perfect for you.
Yes,
I was
oh
like,
my god.
oh, me too, Delulu, me
I
too.
really was like, "Yes, love that."
And he was freaking out about. We already talked about when he was freaking out about the storm. And then wait, well, there's one other thing, but I don't remember what it was. Before going back to him, it's just my favorite Hayden moments. He was very relatable. His
He
whole like
was.
I felt most myself when I'm alone
Mhm.
because if he doesn't like people like because he
Yeah.
grew up constantly feeling
Yeah.
watched. Ugh.
And then, um, I feel like you're mine in a way no one else has ever been. I was like, "Okay,
Okay.
what is that like?" Oh, yeah. Also, it wasn't like Emily. It wasn't like a normal Emily Henry book, but she always has a different template than the last. I feel like
Hmm.
it's always different. Um,
Oh, I know. Sorry.
no, you're okay.
The line exactly was after more than 3 decades on this planet, all it took was a few weeks and the right person to entirely rearrange my composition.
Yeah.
Because in her head, she was hearing, I'm in love with you too.
Mhm.
Her entire love letter to Hayden that she
Oh
wrote to
my god.
Margaret.
Oh my gosh.
I read that and I was like,
Oh gosh, it really got me.
it was pure
Mhm.
perfection. And the fact that, like, in the song, she was changing the Cosmo lyric
Yes,
from Peggy
and
all the
then
time to
he was
Hayden all the time,
changing
and
it
he was changing it.
too,
Like,
and Alice's dad changed it for his
yeah.
mom.
And the fact that when he came back, he didn't focus on
Also,
the
I'm just saying this, Alice being homeschooled, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, being raised in Georgia and she was homeschooled and she had short hair. Thank you. Thank you, Emily Henry, for making a main character homeschooled. I appreciate it so much more than words could. Like I felt like yeah, she was like yeah, we were weird and obviously I didn't grow up on a in a, like a cult type thing, not but but like it
Mhm.
like I just felt like yeah, you're funky, but you're also like you're organic. Like I just was like I loved it. Anyways, I'm sorry, but
No,
another reason where I'm like doesn't everything doesn't have to be in the popular media.
no.
So anyways, being homeschooled is not something. It's great. All right.
No. My last thing is what happens at the end, and it's the fact that after the letter and he comes back, his
Hmm.
focus on is it true that
Yeah.
she loves him,
Not the actual
not the fact you
thing.
knew that, like, I'm Margaret Ives' grandson,
Hmm.
not the fact that, like, I've just had to process that, but is it true
Yeah.
you love me and, like, everything you
Yeah.
just wrote about me in this letter, is it true? And
And
I'm
he
like,
left she left because, like, she couldn't lie to him.
"No," and I was like, "Oh!"
Oh, I know.
It was just too
It
good.
also just made, like, such
They
a
couldn't lie
simple
to each other either because he
no.
was like, "I don't want you know going
Yeah.
continuing this job and falling for me, knowing that she handpicked me already."
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
both of them wanted complete transparency the whole
Which
time.
I appreciate it. Just everything about this book was I mean, obviously, I feel like how many times we're gonna say that, but, like, it made, like, the most simple version of a life. Like, you can live such a slow life, and it's still a great, big, beautiful life. You can live a life in the limelight the way Margaret why are you smiling? I'm in the limelight, like
Nothing, just the way
and
you're
it's a
wrapping it
great,
up.
big, beautiful life. Like, everything is significant. Nothing is
Mhm.
insignificant. Every single manner of the relationship, the romance, the job,
It's the fact
it's
that you're
great,
living
big, and
your
beautiful. It's
life.
a great BBL.
It's a great big deal.
I just can't be serious.
And on that note, I know you're being so serious, and I was like, "This is just so." I that was like one of those like out of body moments where I wasn't like we weren't podcasting. That was just like you talking about a I don't know how to
Oh my god,
explain it,
stop having me
but it was like
cry.
such a like oh, she's just talking about the book. Like let me just sit and listen to like this podcaster talk about her book for a second.
You make me cry. Okay, anyways, go read Great BBL, and you might get a great BBL. Who knows?
Okay.
Dude, I'm so